Sorry, I forgot that. So, okay, just we wanted to, before we start, we just want to show few things about upcoming stuff. Then we'll quickly start from there. 1 second. So this is Health and Happiness Committee, and the speaker is Kavitha Suratkal. So this is what already have seen the flyer, and then our
Sir, we can't see
leadership.
screen
Are you
and
sharing something, Ashok Garu? We can't see.
we
Oh,
can't see
share.
the screen.
Oh, it disconnected. 1 second. Can you see now? It's like I think this.
Yes, Sandy. Yeah, we can see
Yeah.
now.
Okay. So sorry. So then this is our committee and then leadership team. So then next we have, so we want encourage everyone to take the life membership because we have a lot of benefits to the life members, lot of webinars coming. You can watch all the webinars also, even if you miss. So these are all part of life membership benefits. Please everyone try to take life membership. It costs just $200. You get lot of webinars also, and it is tax deductible also. So next one, this is our committee. So then we wanted to bring health tips, right? Try to avoid plastic bottles, bring your own bottle, even practice. We ask them to provide water stations as possible. Try to eat multigrain bread, some multigrain flour instead of just wheat flour. Add salads in your daily meals, light dinner with soups or salad, steamed lentils, and to keep calm mind and stress-free pranayama meditation and intermittent fasting, reduce intake of sweets and sugary drinks. So what we are planning is upcoming webinars is we have planned for inner engineering webinar by Isha Foundation on May 21st, Sunday 8 p.m. And next we are planning to start Bollywood Zumba every Monday 7 p.m. Eastern Time starting from May 22nd. And yoga classes will be announced soon. And we are planning to introduce in, intermittent fasting from May 1st, Ekadashi, that is from Vaishakha Masa, which is very auspicious also. Using a app, life fasting timer and tracker app is there. So you can install that app. So everybody, so that I created an NRIVA circle so that everybody can join. We can see how many people fasting. So as per the Japanese cell biologist, Yoshinori Usami won the Nobel Prize in medicine for his research on how cells recycle, renew their content. So that is what is the greatest. So we have already in our system, Ekadashi is there. It's not old thing, but we were not following. But this became this one intermittent fasting 16 days, 16 hours or more, which help to regenerate the body cells. Even it can cure cancers also. So then so now, before we start, let's say a few words about Kavitha Suratkal. Kavitha Suratkal just started in Master's Gardener from Rutgers University, PFIP Center Bio course, a spiritual and scientific approach to farming and gardening. Uh, the Kavitha Suratkal also Master Gardener as a horticulture specialty focusing on organic gardening, healthy vegetable plants, and I'm passionate about promote sustainable holistic approach to gardening. So that is a speciality. In addition to expertise in horticulture, I also bring deep interest in spiritualism and the connection between growing good food and cultivating a healthy spirit. So being said that, so I will hand over to Kavitha Suratkal. She will take over and talk about the organic gardening.
Yeah.
Thanks for Kavitha Suratkal for accepting.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashok Garu, for inviting me. I mean, it is a really great honor to come here and speak. Gardening and spirituality and anything related to nature is very close to my heart. So this is an amazing opportunity where I can share my ideas and how I do my things with everyone. So I'd like to start with showing you what I do, what my setup is like, and a little about me, so you have an idea about where I come from when I'm talking. I live in Edison. I have a small house. I live right next to 287. And in my backyard, I have a chicken coop. I have 6 hens. I just got 2 little chicks. So there'll be 8 hens once they grow up. My hens give me 1 egg per day, every day. I can't eat those eggs, so I sell them. They are free range organic eggs. But the reason I got hens in my yard is because of their manure. I use that manure to compost, and that goes into my yard as a fertilizer. So I believe in urban homesteading. I have a little model in my backyard, which I grew up in Mumbai, in an apartment where space is the scarcity. So when I moved to US, and I saw so much space, and I wondered, why are they wasting it into lawns? Why can't they grow their food and use it properly? And when my son, when he was 3 years old, he was suffering from allergies, environmental allergies. This is a story which is close to my heart, which really moved me to growing things. So when he had allergies, I took them to the doctor, and the doctor said that he has to be on nebulizers and all the chemicals for life. I couldn't take that. So then slowly I started switching. Once he was stable, I started growing my own food. I started giving him herbal remedies and wheatgrass juice and everything to build his immune system. And now he's 18-year-old. He's an Eagle Scout. He goes out there. Spring happens, fall happens, allergy comes, goes, just little over-the-counter medication, and that's it. And he's all right. So I owe it to Mother Nature. And I really feel that we should all align ourselves to Mother Nature. I'd like to share with you. Can I do screen sharing? I'd like to show you my setup.
Yeah, I will
And
stop sharing. You can share. Yeah,
yeah, okay. Can I continue?
yeah, yes.
Yeah. So yeah. So this is in my backyard. So I have hold on. Okay. This is, I have around 12 to 13 raised beds. These are the raised beds. It has all the plants growing in, and I grow most of my vegetables from here, and I have freezer in my basement, and I store it, and I can show you my hens before I. Okay, I'll come to that. My daughter and my hens. These are my hens. So now coming back to the presentation, can I have the presentation, or hold on?
Want me to open that one? I can share.
Yes. Where we were, so I can use that.
Yeah, let me share that one.
Yes. So I thank you for all the questions you sent me. It gave me enough time to prepare. So seed starting, why do we start indoors? So being in US, the weather is the biggest constraint. We have a very small growing period. The growing period starts from May to August, and after September, the temperature starts dropping. So if you really want to grow, we have to start indoors. Plants like tomatoes, eggplants, peppers, they're heat-loving plants. The more bigger, brighter the fruits, the more heat they like. So you have to start them earlier before you can put them in the ground. If you put those tomato seeds in May in ground, by the time they grow, it's already cold time, time to get them down. So the tomatoes, eggplants, peppers, they're heat-loving plants. You start them in February. And it give them enough time from February to, say, Memorial Day period. That's good enough for them to grow big enough to put them out in the garden. Why do we start seeds from inside? If you buy a seedling from outside, it's $5 or $6. And now, since cost price has gone everywhere, the plants you buy are very, very expensive. And with one seed, you can have such a wonderful big plant. And when you go to buy seeds, for $2, $3, you get around 25, 30 seeds. So you can do the math and see the value for money. And then you can have the ability to do succession planting, meaning you do not keep the soil bare. You can, when one crop is done, you can start growing the other crop. Also, you have abundant varieties. So there are so many varieties that you can grow, which are not there in the market. And I love growing unique things, because then that also acts as your bragging point. When you have guests around, you say, "Hey, look at the thing that I'm growing." There are cabbages. Yeah, you can get cauliflower cabbages, but there are beautiful cabbages which has spiral, the Romanesque cabbages, cauliflowers. If you grow them and then you bring them to your family, or the purple cabbages, or this is my favorite story. When you have kids, I encourage people with small kids to grow ground cherries. Ground cherries are the plants which has tiny berries, and they are enclosed in a paper covering, and they are tart, sweet, almost pineapple-ish, tangy flavor. The beauty of these ground cherries is a bush. When the when the fruits fall down on the ground, that's when you pick them up and eat. And they are like little candies. You open the wrapper and eat it. So I sold this to one of my clients, and her daughter loved that plant so much that every day morning, she was in kindergarten, every day morning when she wakes up, first thing she would do is she'll go down and check how many ground cherries have fallen, and she'll collect them. And that's her candies. So one day, and it's a unique plant, nobody has it. So one day when they had guests over, the mother wanted to show it and gave the cherries to the guests, and they ate and they liked it. The little girl was so angry at her mother. Why did you give my cherries to her? So the long story short is that these are the experiences you don't get from store-bought things. These are the experiences that empowers you and brings memories. Also, you can collect seeds of your favorite varieties, and if it's grown well, it'll eventually it adapts to your growing environment, your soil, so the success rates becomes higher. So it's like Karela. I grow Karela a lot. From 2 plants, I have so much harvest that my kids get frustrated and fed up that they have Karela every week. So, but the seeds that I collect from the plants that I grow, the success rate becomes higher and the flavor becomes even more enhanced because they're adapted to my growing environment. So, next slide, please. So, generally speaking, for one family of 4, I would recommend 2 or 3 tomato plants. Have a slicing tomato and a paste tomato. The slicing differences, the slicing tomatoes are big, but they are very juicy and they have a lot of seeds in it, while the paste tomatoes are elongated, small, compact, and they have more pulp in it. So the slicing tomatoes are perfect for salads, while the pulp tomatoes are perfect for your curries and everything. Eggplants, we all know different eggplants. We have big eggplants, the small for bagara bagan, which is my favorite dish. So if you're having a big fruit, big eggplant, then 1 or 2 plant is good enough, because one eggplant will be good for a dinner for a night. But if you're having a small eggplant plant, then I would recommend 5 or 6, because you get to harvest them at different time. So you need to have enough to make a curry. Again, for okra, you will get 1 or 2 okra here and there, and that's not enough for you to make a good bhaji. So I would recommend 6 or even 5 okra plants. Beans, again, 3, but then again, beans and peas, you can collect it, freeze it, and then use it as you go. However, for dudi, turai, karela, I would recommend 1 plant, at the most 2, because they grow like crazy. They are the perfect value for money, because with 1 tiny seed, you get so many dudis, and 1 dudi can feed not just your family, your neighboring family for days together. So that's a perfect value for money. Now, germination, different seeds have different ways of germination. Karela, dudi, their seed shells are very hard, so they need to be what do you call it? Cut, or use a sandpaper to sand them off. So there's a hole inside the seed shell, and then you soak them overnight, and then you germinate them. That way you get a very good rate of germination. Then you have small seeds like basil, you germinate them directly. Then things like tomatoes, you can do a paper towel germination. So you put them in the paper, you soak it and put it in a plastic bag. In a couple of days, you'll get the sprout. You can do that for peas too. And this way you get a quicker result. So methi, the same thing. You just like how you soak lentils to eat, you soak them and then you put them in a paper towel or in a moist cloth, and then wait for it to germinate, and then you can grow them. Next slide, please. So now this is a germination setup. If you're growing seedlings at home, we would recommend a light source, a heat mat, and the trays. So the heat, we live in cold place, we have heaters going on, everything. So a heat mat is very useful. It regulates the temperature between 68 to 86 degrees Fahrenheit. It's warm enough for to encourage the seeds to grow faster. Then once the seeds, at that time, the seeds don't need light. All it needs is warmth to germinate. Once they come out of the seed shell and you see the baby leaves coming out, that's when it starts needing light. So then you put the seeds closer to the light, and it needs around 14 to 16 hours per day. Nice light. So those light at that time, it does not need heat. So you can remove the heat mat. And in that light, the seed grows faster and better. We also need fan. Fan is for circulation. The fan I recommend is tiny fans. The kind of fans you get, the USB driven fans, they are very light, and it gives a gentle circulation. The advantage of that is the gentle breeze keeps the seedlings very strong. So it's called tough love. The more you pamper, the more complacent they become. But if you put them out in elements, and if you show them tough love, you show them little rigor, they grow better and stronger. So we need the fan. Now for the growing medium, we cannot use the outdoor soil. We need a sterile medium. which is free from bacteria and other inhabitants. So I generally prefer coconut coir, very cost effective, very easy to get. Coconut coir, you get it in a brick, you put it in a pot and you pour water in it, and in no time that small brick gives you a big pot full of growing medium. And they also sell peat moss out in the garden center, but I do not prefer peat moss personally because I believe in sustainability, and peat moss is not a sustainable what do you call it, product, because they mine it in the bogs of UK, and it is what do you call it is not a renewable source. It will be depleted. So that's a reason why I avoid peat moss. And coconut coir, however, is a renewable source. You can grow more coconuts and get coconut coir out of it. So next, please. So again, for nutrition, the seed contains everything that it needs to grow. So you don't need to fertilize it till the seedlings appear. But once the true leaves come, the big leaves, the real leaves, that's when you start fertilizing it. Me being an organic gardener, I prefer fish emulsion. So I take 1 cap of fish emulsion, mix it with water, a gallon of water. I dilute it, extreme dilution, and then just pour it to the plants. I do bottom watering. So when you water from the top, it hurts the seedlings, plus it is a danger of damping off the seedlings because they're very small and tender. So when you do bottom watering, the plant absorbs water from the root. And so I give once in a week fish emulsion, but however, there are different options that I've given. If you want, there are synthetic Miracle Grow and other options which are there in the market too. Next slide, please. So again, like I said, different diseases that you can get for seed starting, because it's a very cold, humid environment where the seedlings are growing. You must be careful not to overwater it. Too much love is also not good for it. So when you overwater it, it becomes too wet. The whole environment becomes wet. So then that causes fungus. It also causes fungus gnats. So once you start getting fungus, you get fungus gnats. And the way to avoid fungus gnats and damping off is to cut back on watering. When you feel that the medium is moist for a couple of days, just wait and don't water it. But once you start seeing the medium getting drier, that's when you water it. So that way you avoid a lot of these diseases. And then another disease that you can get from the seedlings is, when they're trying to grow, they're trying to reach to the light. If the seedlings are lower and not closer to the light, then they become very stretchy and long. And when they become stretchy and long, the stem becomes weak, and then they try to fall off and hurt themselves. So it is a good idea to raise the level of your seedlings and bring it closer to the light. So I would recommend LED lights because they don't give out too much heat while giving good light. I'd like to share my setup. Hold on. It just where is it?
To show something.
Yeah. I wanted to show the pictures. Hold on, of my setup.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are the seedlings that I have. This is the setup I have. So if you see here, I have the trays here.
No, we are not seeing.
Oh, you're not seeing? Okay.
No, we're seeing the.
Okay. Okay, let me show you again. There. Can you
Yeah,
see now?
now we can.
Yeah. So these are the seedlings that I have. This is the setup I have here. So if you see, I have the lights here. These are the grow lights. You get it in different colored light. These light spectrums encourages the growth in the plants. And below I have heat mats. So, but when the plants are big enough, right now the seeds have not germinated. So the lights are not that important as much as the heat mats are. But here you see the growth. So the heat mat is not important, but the light is. So we have to do the balance accordingly. Okay. Can we go back to the screen?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So, and then, one thing I needed to cover in the previous slide is hardening. So we grow these tender seedlings in our love and care in our house. But then they're not going to live with us, just like our children. You know, we raise them well, but they're not going to live with us. They need to be out there in the world. So put them, you can't throw them out there in the world, they won't survive. So we have to harden them. So in order to harden them, so you take your seedlings, put them when early in the morning when there is not much sun, you put them out for half an hour. You start with half an hour, 1 hour, and then bring them back in. So they get used to the outside temperature, outside warmth, outside environment. And slowly you increase the duration of exposure of these tender seedlings to the outside world. And once you feel you cross 6 hours, then you can put them out throughout and they can sustain outside environment very well. And that's when they're ready to go into the garden. Now into the garden. So it's a totally different ball game. We've covered the seed. Now this is the second part of my presentation of how you're actually growing things inside the garden. Important part for me is watering. So the watering, I look at Mother Nature, similar working of Mother Nature, similar to how we live. So watering, we take in water in two forms. We drink water and we use water to bathe. So the plants also, they take water in two ways. They drink water from their roots. However, when it rains, when the water falls on them, they feel happy. So what you have to water them once in a day, preferably in the morning. And instead of overhead watering, you do watering from the roots. So I highly recommend drip irrigation system. All my raised beds are on drip system. So the drip system is the pipeline which gives droplets of water, which goes straight to the roots of the plant. So imagine early in the morning at 5 o'clock and my whole garden of 14, 15 raised beds are on timer and drip system. So watering my plants is the last thing to worry for me. So early in the morning, even before I wake up and take my shower, my plants are getting watered. They get their water at their roots, which they drink and they're happy. But once in a week, I stop my drip system and I take the shower and I water them from top down and they feel happy. It's like bathing them and rejuvenating them, making them happy. The advantage of drip system and watering at the roots is that you keep the plants dry. When the plants are dry, the chances of them getting infection is very less. Chances of fungal infection, bacterial infection is very less. So I know there are a lot of questions about pest management, disease control. I believe that just like humans, for us, if you are healthy, if you maintain a good immune system, then the chances of you falling sick is very less. So you exercise well, maintain your body well, then even if your neighbor has cough and cold, you will get little cough and cold, but you will be resilient and you will be back to normal. Same thing with your plants. So if you water them properly, you take care of them, they become so resilient that even if there is an onset of diseases, they can heal themselves better by themselves. So that is watering. Alongside watering, important part is mulching. And mulching is very, very, very important. Now, this is Mother Nature's way of working. Soil is Mother Nature's skin. So, like we do not like to expose our skin. I mean, when you go out in summer, you put sunscreen, we wear our clothes on. So we take care of our skin. Mother Nature takes care of her skin too. So, and she prefers her skin always to be covered. So if you don't cover Mother Nature's skin, if you don't cover the soil, Mother Nature will make sure she covers it. But she will cover it with plants, and the plants that you don't want in your yard. And we call them weeds. So one of the ways to prevent that is mulching. So I recommend straw. If you get seedless straw, nothing like it. But it is very difficult to get seedless straw. So I tried that. I used to put straw in my yard. But then the seeds from the straw would start growing and I'd get all the grains growing, and it's a big nuisance for me then to take care. So instead, these days, I started switching to pine shavings because I have hens. I get pine shavings for my hens. So one day I thought, why not I use pine shavings for my plants too? So all my raised beds are covered with pine shavings, except for the area around the plants. So that way, the soil is always covered. So when the soil is covered, you will not get weeds. Also, a healthy soil gives healthy plants. So if you want the plants to be healthy, instead of focusing on pest management, fertilizer, you have to focus on the soil. The more enriched and healthy the soil is, the more better your plants are and the more tasty the fruits are. So the soil is not an inert object. It is a living being. A soil has microbes and plethora of insects and worms living inside. The more they are in your soil, the better they do for your plants. So the earthworms and different insects and worms that live in your soil enriches the soil. So when you mulch it, you cover them and you give them shade, you give them shelter to grow, multiply, and they are happy. But it's a small experiment you can try. You can have a yard, a small piece of land, a piece of whatever, a raised bed, one which is mulched and one which is not mulched on a summer afternoon. And then you see the one which is mulch, if you remove the mulch and you see the soil is moist, dark, rich. And when you take the soil in your hand, you will see earthworms and it's living. You can feel the life in it. But the soil which is not mulched, and if you take it, it is so dry, gray, arid. You can't imagine anything growing in that. So that is the power of mulching. And another advantage of mulching is you get to water less because the mulching prevents evaporation of water. So even if you water very less amount through drip irrigation, all the water is captured by the roots and the soil and it does not get evaporated. In my raised beds, I haven't changed the soil from 6, 7, 8 years. Raised beds is like one-time investment where I have to put in soil and everything, get them ready. But once it's set for life. All I need to do is feed the soil, and the soil is ready for my plants. Next slide, please. So again, once you take care of your setup, pest management becomes a part of practices. Now, the picture you see is from my yard, and I know it's a little icky, but this is one of my favorite pictures. So this is a tomato hornworm on my tomato plant. Now, what happens here is the tomato hornworm is a pest. It once it infects your tomato plant, it eats up your plant, and the plant dies in no time. But have patience. When there are two types of insects, I believe in using nature to take care of all the problems that we have. So there are two types of insects. One are the pollinators that you know already, the butterflies, the bees and everything. The other type of insects are the beneficial insects. Now, beneficial insects are soldier flies, minute pirate bugs, and different tiny bugs which you don't see in the naked eyes, but they're there. What they do is, now this tomato hornworm is infected by an insect. That insect comes and lays its eggs in the back of the hornworm. The eggs then gets matured and the larva is formed, and these larvae starts eating this hornworm from inside. And what you see here is the pupas of the larva that are there. These pupas will then mature. You do not remove this thing right now. You let these pupas to mature, and they will the insects that come out from here will again look hunting for more tomato hornworms, and they will take care of the insects for your plant. So the best way to invite these beneficial insects is by having a diversity in your garden. So a vegetable garden does not mean just eggplant, tomatoes, peppers, and no, it means you integrate your vegetable garden with your flowers. So to invite these beneficial insects, which are very minute, you grow plants like sweet alyssum, fennel, dill. So these have small florets like flowers, tiny flowers. So these insects, they take food and nectar from these tiny flowers, and then that's how they grow. So if you see in my yard, I have tomato plant growing, but at the base of the tomato plant, I always have sweet alyssum, dill growing on the borders. So dill, sweet alyssum, they attract these beneficial insects for me. So if I have, say, aphids coming in, so when aphids come and attack my plants, instead of just getting all my arsenals out of neem spray and all the pesticide, I wait for a couple of days. Because when you wait, I know that they're going to harm your plants, but it's tough love. After a point, these beneficial insects do come and they eat on the aphids, and then it increases the population of your beneficial insect, and your plants also become very resilient. So the fruits of the plant, which has been subjected to this kind of hostile environment, they toughen up and the fruits are much more tastier. I know it is a counterintuitive, but tough love always helps. So my way of pest management is growing a lot of these plants, these flowers, which benefits my main crop. So the points that I've kept is maintain proper spacing. Too much crowd. Plants don't like crowd. They are intelligent living beings. They are not just plants. They are very moody. You know, I'll give you an example of moodiness. I have a Kavitha plant. It loves that one spot in my kitchen. And in winter, when I take it in, I have to put it in that one particular spot. One day I thought, it's too hot. Let me put it in somewhere else. I shifted it to my dining room. In 2 days, it started shedding all its leaves, and it made it a point to tell me that it's not happy. So I brought it back to where it was, and it again thrived. So the plants have emotions. They are very moody. So you have to give them proper spacing. You have to keep the gardens clean. So if, please go back. I'm not done there. So you
Okay.
have to keep the garden clean. So once the garden is clean, there's no debris. So if there's insects fallen down, you can keep it clean. Crop rotation. Once I grow garlic. So garlic, usually I harvest by June. So once June, I harvest the garlic, I have an empty space. It's like your real estate, very expensive. What do? You don't let it lie waste. So then I use that area for different plants. So then I grow my brassicas there. So try to grow different plants at different areas. So the pathogens get confused, and the risk of attacking is different. Diverse planting, again, like I said, you mix with flowers with your plants. Pollinators and beneficial insects, which I already covered. We can go next. So fertilizer, so I use everything organic. Worm casting, I have my own worm bins. I harvest the worm casting, I put it out there. For composting, I have raised beds in the back of my yard, where when I clean up my chicken coop, I dump it in the raised beds. I get cow manure. I dilute the cow manure, I put it. There are two types. We'll address composting later. But then the best type of compost I would recommend is the cow manure compost. So you get KOW cow that you get out there in the market is amazing for composting. Fish emulsion is one good thing. Earthworm casting, like I said. Then you can make fermented teas. This is one of my very favorite fermented teas. So you take jaggery, you take mustard, you grind up mustard powder. Then you add banana, cow manure, and you get any weeds or any leaf material. You take it in a nice big barrel, put it in the water, close it with a cloth, and keep it in a shaded area. Once in the morning, once in the evening, stir it around clockwise 12 times, anti-clockwise 12 times, let it sit for 1 week. If you look up, this is a traditional old Indian way of fertilizing. It's called Amrut Jal. They put, they actually put Gomutra, but it is very difficult to get Gomutra here. I tried a lot. I used to go to every dairy possible, and I'd ask them for Gomutra, and they think I'm mad. So now I switch from Gomutra to cow dung. Because you go to a dairy farm and you say you want cow manure, they say, okay, there's a lot lying there, take it. And that's my prized possession. I go with my shovel and my Home Depot bucket, and I get that. And I know my kids, they roll their eyes on me for being crazy for cow manure. But once you ferment that, it's not the best of the smell that you can get. You strain it, and then you pour it to your plants. So what happens here is jaggery acts as a food. Mustard gives you a good source of nitrogen. Banana gives you good source of potassium. weeds, give you good source of, decomposing material. Cow manure is holy as it is. This whole concoction in 15 days gives you bacterial growth, and that beneficial bacteria is very good in enriching your soil. You take care of your soil and your plants get taken care of. For me as an organic grower, I do not look at NPK values. I look at the holistically appealing what balances the system. For me, this balances the whole system on the whole. I strain it and then I pour it to all my plants, and it works like magic. So, for your information, you can Google Amrut Jal and you'll get a different kind of recipes for it as well. How much to make each? You can eyeball it. You can eyeball it. I usually use 5-gallon bucket, and then once it is concentrated, I dilute it with more water, because what I'm looking at is the bacterial growth in it. And once it starts fermenting, the smell itself will tell you the amount of bacteria that is there. So if you feel that it is less, increase the frequency or increase the amount. You'll know once you start working, once you get your hand dirty, you will know it. Okay, next, please. So this is again from my yard. Look at the dudi. Once it starts coming, it just keeps coming. And the Karela, and my kids really have, they're bugged by now with all the Karelas that I have. Now I have to find out how to make the Karela pickle and Karela chutney. And the dosakais are amazing that I grow, and the tomatoes. Yeah. Next, I think we are done. I can show you, we're done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can show you some of the images from my yard. Let me see. So, can you see?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, fine. That's great. So this is the pepper plant. So if you see, this is when I used to use straw as the mulch. If you see the black pipes here, these are my drip system. The best part about the drip system I have is that if I'm not using a bed, I can shut it off. So that bed, it's covered with mulch. So I know it will not dry off, and it does not need extra watering. On the side here, you see garlic growing next to my pepper plants. This is my eggplant growing on my deck into the boxes that I built. Let's see, again, a pepper plant, pepper growing, my eggplants. These are the seedlings that I grow. I used to love these. They said it's biodegradable bags, but trust me, they do not degrade. So now I do not like to sell seedlings in plastic, because horticulture is one of the biggest plastic pollutant. Imagine you get a big tray of vegetables, and it's a beautiful day, you are planting it, you remove the seedlings from those tiny 4-pot things, and you put it there, and there's a gust of wind, and all the plastic pots fly away in your yard, and you can't even trace them. So that's why I'm constantly looking for alternatives where I can grow without plastic. This is one option, but right now I use paper cartons. So this is my one of my raised beds. So one of the questions that I had is, how much soil do you put in the raised beds? So on an average, these are bottomless raised beds. So the raised beds are open to Mother Earth. So this is around 1 foot high. So you put soil in it, cow manure in it, and perlite in it to make the soil very airy and improve the drainage. Then what I do is I do rope trellising, meaning I have the PVC pipes and I send the rope and I tie the string to my plants and I train the plants up to the string. So I do not use cages for even for my tomatoes. I grow them like this. So they grow up like curtains up because no matter how big cages you buy, the tomato plants are so robust, they topple the cages down. So then I train them through the strings. I usually use jute string. I do not like nylon or synthetic plastic. I am averse to plastic. So I train them up. So then they are more airy. So if you see, I cut off the leaves from the bottom. So there is a lot of air circulation at the bottom of my raised bed, while there are a lot of leaves and a lot of things going on top. Let's see. This is my pollinator garden. This is my greenhouse where I store my plants. This is my little dog. And this is where I have a kind of a trellis with tomatoes growing. And if you see here, you have fennel here. I always grow fennel because fennel is attracts larvae for swallowtail butterfly. Swallowtail butterfly is the most gorgeous butterfly. It's purple in color with long tails. And the caterpillars are very beautiful. So I grow plants mainly for the insects than for myself. Then if you see, I have nasturtiums here. I have basil here. Then I have marigolds. Yeah. My kids, my little one
Nice.
helping me. The best part about growing things is that your kids get involved in it.
Right. They
So
enjoy the nature. Yeah.
yes, they become more sensitive to the world around you. Let me see, as I'm at the end of the presentation, let me see the questions. So germination, indoor, outdoor, I covered that. When to start the seedlings, I covered that. Okra plant last month. Again, you need to keep an eye on watering. If you're watering too much, then it becomes very difficult for them. So monitor watering. That's the only advice I can give. When can I plant in May? So once you cross April, once you see that the nighttime temperature is around 40s, you can start putting the plants out. 40s, because 30s means they get a shock, but in 40s, they're fine. So that's when, and then they're more resilient than you think. You don't need to be overprotective about them as well. So once they're in 40, 45 nighttime temperature, not the day temperature, because nighttime is always cooler. So once you see that it is reaching that temperature, you can put your plants out. Agreed, they're not stable, but they will adapt to it. In Midwest, you have more frozen days. We have, when the weather is not good, we use different ways of growing in cold weather. We use a tunnel system. We can use agribon cloth, but if it is too much to buy and everything, just get a pipe, put it across your raised bed as a tunnel, get the painter's drop cloth, cover it up. So trust me, it forms very good greenhouse. I experimented that in my yard. I grew amazing lettuce throughout the winter. It used to snow outside, but when I opened the painter's drop cloth, the plastic, I would see amazing lettuce growing inside. So You can extend your season using hoops and tunnels. Different types of pests, like I told you, deers and rabbits. I know it is a big problem. And the best thing I could recommend is fox urine. So if you Google, if you go on Amazon, or even if you go to a Home Depot or any store, you'll find granulated fox urine. You put that around your raised bed, not inside your raised bed, around your raised bed. You mark a territory. These animals smell it and they will try to avoid it, avoid the area, because that's the best prevention. However, you have to be on top of it. If it rains, the smell goes off. So you have to mark. It's like your Lakshman Rekha. How to make a compost. So I'll tell you how I make my compost. I have a raised bed. So there are two types of compost that you can make. One is the active compost and other one is the passive compost. Active compost is the one you read all the time. You have a tumbler or a bin where you have your browns and greens. You put it in there because you need the greens to decompose and you need the browns to absorb the moisture so it does not smell. And every day or every once in a week, you have to stir it, you have to water it. So this way it decomposes well. I used to have the tumbler to shake it up. But the best result is if you put it on the ground, a bed inside the ground, the earthworm comes and decomposes it. Me personally, I'm the only one in the garden. My boys are busy with their work. So I do everything that makes my life easier. So I switch to passive composting. So what I do is I have a raised bed. I dump everything, my chicken manure, my vegetable scraps, everything in it. I get cow manure, I dilute it, I put that in, I cover it, and then I mix it thoroughly. I cover it with gunny bag, make sure it's in a shaded area, not exposed to sun. Once in a while, I'll just come, stir it up a bit, again cover it, leave it there for a year, and trust me, the whole thing decomposes it, and you have gorgeous compost, gorgeous fertilizer for your plants. And it's very less effort that goes into it. I am not that strong that I can, turn the compost pile ever so often. So I resort to that. And chicken manure is very high in nitrogen. It's called very hot fertilizer. You cannot use chicken manure straight to your plants. You have to wait till it gets composted, decomposes, and then you can put it in the plant. How to fill the raised beds. Again, I had explained that to you. So yeah, let me see if I have questions.
So, good afternoon, Geeta Garu. Any questions are there for today's webinar? Can you read out the questions?
Yes, Sandy. Thank you, Kavitha Garu. It was wonderful session and there is a lot of nice information. Hopefully all our members will grab the information, make use of it. And we have a big group. This is most happening committee in our NRIVA. And we have big organic group. There are nearly 1,200 people in that.
Wow.
Every day they will be bombarding with a lot of questions and answers as well every single day. And today I got quite a few questions here. So I will start from here. Now I have a question. My saplings are already long and lean and they are on the floor. And is there anything I can do now? Here is the first question.
So what you can do is, you can get the skewers, the bamboo skewers, you can put them in and align the saplings to the bamboo skewers in your little pot and gently mix it with, gently tie it up with a wire or so. Be extremely gentle because these are babies. You cannot show tough love over there. So that way, you help them a bit. So the best part is popsicle sticks or bamboo skewers, just put it down there, just help them. And at the same time, bring them closer to the light so they are not, competing for light. They stretch because they want light. But however, if you're growing things like Dudi, Karela, they are whiny and they grow all over the place. So that you can't help it. So the best way to do that is give them the support of a bamboo skewer. Hope that helps.
Yeah. And another question, want to know how to fill high raised bed, just started this year for vegetables.
Yeah, like I said, you mix the combination I use is cow manure, perlite, and soil. So say maximum soil, and then say 50% of soil, and the other 50% you use cow manure and perlite. Mix it all together and fill up the raised bed. And you can just leave 2-3 inches from the edge of the raised beds and fill it up, and that's good for you. And next year, when the soil it will be filled with earthworms and everything. The soil is very rich. Next year, all you'll need to do is add more compost, cow manure, to make it more fertile.
And one more question, someone lives in Phoenix, what type of crops can they grow in different seasons?
I haven't studied Phoenix. I'll do some research and I'll get back to you. But most of my experiences on this side, I am very sorry about that.
And any recommendation, what kind of soil to use? Miracle Grow is good or any other soil is recommended?
I would recommend anything which is organic, because just don't get the topsoil or the soil that you get from the construction site, because they are not the actual soil. But any soil which is organic is a good starting point, because in any case, you're going to amend it with compost from your end.
Thank you. And someone wrote that they have chickens for a year. They were free ranging, and they rake beddings and spoil their lawn. And how do they protect their beds from free ranging chickens?
Okay, so this is a very interesting problem. I have it too. So in New Jersey, there are two predators for chicken. One is the hawks from the sky, and the second is the foxes. So personally, what I have is I have a coop where my chicken lives, and then next to the coop outside, I have a big pen. It's a 10 by 10 big area where they can just roam around. So at night time or when they have to lay eggs, they go into the coop. Otherwise, they're outside, inside the pen. So even the cleaning, I clean the coop once in a month, while the pen outside, I clean once in 6 months. I use layering. So every month I add new bed of pine shavings. I add lime. Lime absorbs all the smell of the chicken manure, and it helps decompose the manure. So when I'm actually cleaning the pen after 6 months, most of the chicken manure is already decomposed. So it speeds up my process of composting. So I don't let my chicken out free into the yard. They are always playing inside the pen. However, when I am working, I let the chickens out. If you saw those raised beds that I have, the raised beds had cattle panel in it. So what I do is I have cattle panels, and just outside the raised bed, I have PVC pipes, and I cut off cattle panels so I can slide the panels inside. So basically I have a covering so the chickens then don't jump into my raised beds. They scratch my lawn, of course, and they take mud baths everywhere, but they don't jump into my vegetable. There are two reasons why I do that. If you see, most of the beds that I showed had those barriers. One is to protect them from the chicken, and the other one is to protect from my dog. he is always jumping on my raised beds and I can't get angry on him. So I just create a border. But this is a removable border. So when I'm working, I just pick up the gate, like how you have baby gates, and put them out. Yeah, hope that helps.
And what are the companion plants to go along with the beans? That is chikudkaya. It will be like papdi.
Papdi, right? On an average, I would say marigold, put fennel, you can put sweet alyssum. You know, they attract a lot of pollinators as well. Yeah.
And what is the recommended ratio of soil, cow manure, and perlite?
So you take out of 100%, 50% of your soil, the other 50% you put all amendments that you want to put, because vermiculite or perlite, they are very lightweight and they're not that expensive. And the cow manure, that should be your composition.
I have a few plants in pots. Even when I water them in 2 or 3 weeks, depending on the plants, even with that frequency, gnats develop. So what is the solution for that?
So you have to make sure that the plants are dry. So if it's an indoor plant, I usually, let me show you, hold on.
I think looks like they use organic soil without blood and chicken bone meal. I never heard of this. I don't know what it is.
So usually what I do is I have a pot in a pot. So when I water these plants, the water gets drained out and it gets collected here. I throw the water out sometimes. So then that way this plant gets an opportunity to stay dry. If you see the surface of this plant, and if you can see, it has the clay balls, right? These clay balls help keeping the surface of the plants dry. So what I would recommend is for indoor plants, and if the plant is too big, you cannot drain the bottom water, then I would recommend you monitor the bottom if it is not too wet, and make sure that the surface stays dry. You can get these, they're called leca balls, they're clay balls. You can use that. You can use different mulch. You can use pine shavings, anything that does not expose soil to the environment.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Unmute and ask. Okay. So I was the one who asked that question. I usually search for the soil that does not have any chicken, any animal content basically in it. Horse
Mhm.
manure is something that I find, but I'm okay with that, not with the blood meal or bone meal.
Yes.
And I make sure the top soil is dry. That's when I water the plants.
Mhm.
So
But
any water, so there is no excess water. I make sure the water gets drained, but even then the gnats develop. So in the
Mhm.
winter, when I bring all the plants inside, the house gets filled with gnats. So
Okay.
this season, I've not watered them since I got them in December indoors. Maybe I just used the bulbs to
Mhm.
water them, but that's all. They are so parched. I know the roots are so dry.
Yeah, no, you need to water them, make sure the water gets drained off and remove excess water, and then cover the surface, because fungus gnats happen at the surface.
Right.
Once
Yes.
you remove the surface off, so, you know, you can get, one of the things that I do is I get eggs. So I don't throw the eggshells away. I have a paper bag where I store the eggshells. So once my paper bag gets filled, I have another grinder. I put all the eggshells in the grinder. The dried eggshells, they don't smell a lot at all. I put that as a top covering on the soil. It gives calcium to my plants, and at the same time, it acts as a mulch, and it is white. It looks pretty too, and nobody can guess it's an eggshell. So
Okay.
you can use different types of mulch to protect it.
Okay, okay. And how about succulents? We have these sedums, echeverias and all that. I grow them during summer, and the moment January comes, they become leggy. I provide the grow lights, but even then, uh,
Uh, I can show you my orchids if that helps. So
wow,
these are,
beautiful.
hold on. Okay. So these are my couple of year-old orchids. Again, the same thing with the orchids. The surface has the clay balls in it.
Okay,
It's pot inside a pot. So I pour generous amount of water. Then I remove the inside pot. Whatever is the excess water, I throw it off. And then I let it stay for a week or so. When I know that it gets dried up, then I pour second. It's like a wash of water. You're not watering it, but you're just passing the water through it. So
okay,
that works most of the time for these orchids. They've been with me for 3-4 years. Every year they bloom, they give me good flowers.
okay,
That's all I could say.
okay. But nothing, nothing about succulents.
Pardon me?
Succulents.
Yeah. Again, the same thing for the succulents because they belong to almost similar family. Don't water them too much. Succulents already have a lot of water in them.
No, but in winter, because of lack of light, they grow leggy. So
Mhm.
the whole head becomes nice, healthy looking during summer. Come winter, it's become leggy, and every year I have to cut the head, regrow it again, and I feel so bad. So can we grow those in Jersey environment?
I don't know because I don't grow succulents personally. I like
Okay,
orchids and the other plants. So yeah,
okay, okay. Thank you so much.
not a problem.
And
Anything?
one more question, how to dilute cow manure?
So cow manure, you take a barrel or you can take your 5-gallon bucket. You take around this much cow manure, doesn't take too much, and dilute it around 3-4 times. Stir it thoroughly for half an hour, clockwise and anti-clockwise. When you stir it clockwise, anti-clockwise, the water gets incorporated, the cow manure gets incorporated into the water gets energized, and then that water becomes very potent with the cow manure.
Excellent. Yep. And can we use garden soil in high-rise bed?
Yeah, yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Okay, garden soil versus potting mix. Can we use potting mix in raised beds? I think pretty much same questions.
Yeah. Again, potting mix is more sterile. So, and it is more expensive compared to your gardening soil. Gardening soil comes in bulk. So I would recommend you do use the gardening soil rather than the potting mix. Potting mix comes in those small packages and it has more of peat moss than anything else. So for best nutritive quality, use gardening soil.
Can we mix both of them? Kind of
Yeah,
garden soil and
you can. If you have extra potting mix, what do you want to do? You just mix it up. That's fine.
so how frequently we can add fertilizer to the planted soil?
Uh, every month, once in a month, and in when it comes to growing period, once in a week is good, especially fish emulsion, the fermented teas, or every alternate week, even that works.
Can you provide any tips growing a lemon tree from seed stage? How long does it take to grow?
I haven't tried that, so I wouldn't be able to. I want to. Yeah.
What is the recommended way for a ground bed? Use garden fabric at down, do it directly on the top of the ground soil by removing the lawn. But lawn earlier with chemicals, does it not impact the veggies?
So what I would recommend is when you use the raised beds, it always has to be open-ended raised beds. So the roots get opportunity to grow inside the Mother Earth. So do not use the lawn fabric under the raised bed. Instead, you can use it on top of the raised beds. So it acts as a mulch. However, when you have a raised bed, and I know there's grass growing on it, so you put cardboard cartons, the Amazon cartons you get, flatten it up, put it on that. So the bottom layer of the raised beds can be those cartons. Wet it, moist it, and then start putting your soil on it. And then eventually those cartons will decompose. And the soil underneath, the grass underneath, it dies off.
And I think this is most popular question. Even I do have this same question. Can you suggest the fertilizer for curry leaf plant?
Curry leaf plant, the dal that you wash, the water from your dal, the buttermilk, these are very good for your curry leaf plants.
So it doesn't harden the soil?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, okay. Sometimes I try to use that thingy which will come in the ratios, mix it with water and put it I think some chemical. But if I put that, the plant is going to die soon. I don't know the ratio.
So again, whatever I use for my garden, I use it for my curry leaf plant, and it grows. And now it's got a lot of babies, so I have to harvest the babies from my plant and put them in small pots. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. How to avoid worms eating cucumbers and those kind?
Worm seeding?
Yes. And these two plants getting infected so fast. How can avoid that?
Yeah. So the seedlings, once you put it out there, dosakais, cucumbers, they like, a partial heat. They do not like strong sun. So put it in shaded areas. If you give them a good spot to grow, they grow well. And again, for the insects, try pest management, try growing it with different flowers around it. But worst case scenario, then you have to use neem oil to kill it, kill the insects. Or, you can put those sticky tapes.
Mm, yeah.
You get yellow sticky tapes, the insect climb on it and they get stuck there. That's the most humane way I can recommend without killing other insects that are around.
Okay. Is it common that we have centipedes and millipedes in the curry leaf plant? I mean, in the soil?
Yeah, it is. And many a times I just ignore them because they're not hurting my plant, no?
Yes, yes. And how about tulsi plants? In some houses, a tulsi plant doesn't grow at all. Even I tried for 10 years. Every year I'll bring my tulsi plant. It dies soon, no matter what I do.
Yeah.
I
I-
try.
Again, like I said, they're very moody. The plants, especially when you take them in, try different positions. If this does not work, you will eventually find one spot which the plant likes, and then just stick to that spot, no matter what.
Is there anything we can use to keep the money plant leaves fresh and greenish?
Fresh and greenish, again, you water them, not that frequently. Yeah, spray, again, you do bottom watering. Once in a week, you spray them, and make sure that the soil is not too moist. So again, if you see the bottom, you do pot inside pot. So if the bottom pot is full of water, just remove it. Sometimes you do smell that, water getting stagnant. Stagnant water is not good. Yeah.
How to get rid of white flies?
White flies, again, the insecticidal soap is the best for white flies, or you can use dish soap mixed with neem oil and spray it, especially under the leaf.
Can we keep our curry plant inside or outside? What is the best position?
Again, when it is summer, keep it in shaded area, not in a strong heat.
Right.
Because I tried my deck is southeast, southwest, strong sunlight. I keep my leaves grow black. So that's why I shifted to a shaded area and it is very happy, luscious. In winter, I bring it in. That's all I could recommend. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I think that's all we have questions today, and it was wonderful section. Thank you again
You're
for
most
the nice
welcome.
tips. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, thank you, Kavitha, Suratkal. It was very wonderful session and valuable input. It helped them lot of clarifications to the people who had organic gardening. It was a wonderful session.
Thank you.
Thank you so
so
much.
for inviting because like I said, this is very dear to my heart and I can talk about it for hours together. So thank you for the opportunity.
And also we talked about it. One more thing we want to tell is, 1 second, just.
One question అండి. So Epsom salt use
Mm-hmm.
and ఏ విధంగా how to use that one? What is that is used for?
Epsom salt, I usually use it when I'm planting the seedling. I don't use it too much. I use more of cow manure and organic fertilizers. I do not have much experience with it, so I can't say much about it though.
No problem. Thank you.
And also we, as you know, right, tomorrow we have another webinar on scientific research 101. And as they also know, Vasavi Jayanti, our President Garu mentioned on April 30th, lot of chapters are conducting. So these are the upcoming for this one, for this week. So thank you everyone for joining the wonderful webinar and hope you have answered all your questions. So if any questions, I think you can drop an email to health@nriva.org. So then we can respond to your questions. So anybody has any other questions? Last 1, 2, 3 before we can. And also tulsi seeds, right? How can we can germinate that also, like water it and put it in the pot before? I think your voice is.
Tulsi is direct sowing because those seeds are too small. You
Mm.
cannot afford to germinate it separately and put it. So take a pot of growing medium, put tulsi soil, light tulsi seeds, and lightly cover it with not too much, and then water it. And in a week or so, or 15 days at the most, you'll get good tulsi plants.
Yeah, that's how we used to do. We thought, is there any other different?
Because they need the substrate. You cannot germinate them separately and put it. They have that gelatinous coating around it, so that's why.
Okay. So, as anybody has any other questions, this is the last before we can close our session. Thanks everyone for joining the session. It was wonderful for all the inputs, your valuable inputs.
Thank you,
Talk to you.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.